Canto 6, Chapter 1, Text 46. Yateha Deva Pravarash Trividjam Upalabjate Bhuteshu Gunavaichitjat Tatanyatranumiyate. Translation. O best of the demigods, we can see three different varieties of life, which are due to the contamination of the three modes of nature. The living entities are thus known as peaceful, restless, and foolish, as happy, unhappy, or in between, or as religious, irreligious, and semi-religious. We can deduce that in the next life, these three kinds of material nature will similarly act. Purport. The actions and reactions of the three modes of material nature are visible in this life. For example, some people are very happy, some are very distressed, and some are in mixed happiness and distress. This is the result of past association with the modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance. Since these varieties are visible in this life, we may assume that the living entities, according to their association with the different modes of material nature, will be happy, distressed, or between the two in their next lives also. Therefore, the best policy is to disassociate oneself from the three modes of material nature and be always transcendental to their contamination. This is possible only when one fully engages in the devotional service of the Lord. As Krishna confirms in Bhagavad Gita, Mam chayo vyapacharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samati chaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages into full devotional service, who does not fall down under any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the spiritual platform. Unless one is fully absorbed in the service of the Lord, one is subject to the contamination of the three modes of material nature and must therefore suffer from distress or mixed happiness and distress. Yateha deva pravaras trividam upalabjate Bhuteshu gunavaichitjat tatanyatranumiyate. O best of the demigods, we can see three different varieties of life, which are due to the contamination of the three modes of nature. The living entities are thus known as peaceful, restless, and foolish, as happy, unhappy, or in between, or as religious, irreligious, and semi-religious. We can deduce that in the next life, these three kinds of material nature will similarly act. So the point of this discussion is to show that whatever situation one may be in at the present moment is a product of his association with the modes of material nature, goodness, passion, or ignorance, and that most likely the situation that he was in now is very close to the situation he was in his last lifetime and the situation he will be in his next lifetime. I'd like to read the next verse also along with this. Vartamano, text 47. Anyayo kalo guna gyapako yata evam janman hayor etad dharma dharma nidarshanam. Just as springtime in the present indicates the nature of springtimes in the past and future, so this life of happiness, distress, or a mixture of both gives evidence concerning the religious and irreligious activities of one's past and future lives. Purport. Our past and future are not very difficult to understand, for time is under the contamination of the three modes of material nature. As soon as spring arrives, the usual exhibition of various types of fruits and flowers automatically becomes manifest, and therefore we may conclude that spring in the past was adorned with similar fruits and flowers, and will be so adorned in the future also. Our repetition of birth and death is taking place within time, and according to the influence of the modes of nature, we are receiving various types of body and being subjected to various conditions. So these two verses together very clearly show that as things were, they tend to be in the future, and as things are now, they also tend to be in the future. That there's a continuum of qualities in the living entity. Those who are unhappy in this lifetime were probably unhappy in last lifetime, will probably be unhappy in next lifetime. Those who were religious in this lifetime, we're probably religious in last lifetime, and we'll probably be religious next lifetime. Yeah. If somebody was peaceful last lifetime, he'll probably be peaceful this lifetime, and he'll probably be peaceful next lifetime. Yeah. This is the nature, general nature. Unless, of course, you do something drastic. This is the problem. We are generally engaging ourselves in drastic activities. Doing something very, very, very dynamic, not in the positive sense, but dynamic in the sense that something has happened here. And because of that, one is going to get some result. Something new is going to happen. Now, although that may happen, let's say you do something terrible, then you get a terrible result. That does not basically change your nature. If you're basically peaceful, but you did something terrible and then you got a bad reaction for it, that doesn't change your nature. After the reaction is through and finished with, you'll go on with your basically being peaceful. If one is basically religious, but he does something really nasty, that doesn't change his basic nature. Just that for some time he'll have to suffer the reaction of that, and when that's passed, he'll go back to his original characteristic. So we can understand that the basic characteristics of a person remain. They go on through periods of time, over long periods of time, and they don't change very quickly. In fact, they generally stay the same. And the example given is the springtime. In the past, spring was like this, although we may never remember it. Spring had certain kinds of manifestation of trees with greenery and flowers and fruits. Yes, it's a fact, believe it or not. It's not always white. Hard to understand that right now, but anyway. So, the general appearance of spring is that these bushes outside, they will get green. Now, the way they get green this year, and the way they got green last year, and the way they'll get green next year is not very different. It's the same bush. It looks basically the same. It may get a little bigger, or we may cut it, make it a little smaller. But the basic thing is the same. It's the same bush, same leaves, same branches, just growing or being cut or whatever, but it's the same thing. Looks, if you cut it back, it grows back to look the same way. Even right here in the winter, they look all the same. White, frozen, brown underneath. The same. The manifestation is the same. Has anybody experienced a winter looking different? It's the same. All the trees and branches and everything's all white, frozen, and everywhere all white. And next year, it'll look just like that. You can take a picture of out this window here, and next year come back and look, it'll look just like that. And the year after that, it'll look just like that. Yeah. So, what is the nature? Like that. Lifetime after lifetime, it looks just like that. Your own nature. It may change a little bit, depending on the body. But the basic thing is the same. Yeah. Even if you're in a man body or a woman body, your basic nature will be the same. Except it'll manifest differently. Let's say you have the nature of being very, let us say, peaceful, as it says here, unpeaceful. Whether you are in a female body or a male body, that doesn't change very much. Happiness or unhappiness doesn't change very much. Religious, irreligious doesn't change very much. These are the things which are mentioned by the Yamadutas. According to the three modes of nature, one has a situation. It doesn't really matter so much which body he's in. If you're a rich man, poor man, tall man, small man, thick man, skinny man, every man has basically the same nature according to his previous actions. So we can deduce that the three modes of material nature have a kind of a constant presence, a constant influence on the lives of all of us. Now, our business is to transcend these. Sometimes we get the opinion that our particular mode of material nature, or as well as our national mode of nature, or our religious mode of nature, this is the perfection. And if you want to become perfect in Krishna consciousness, you have to perfect your mode of nature very nicely. Then this is perfection. We've discussed this before. How our contaminations are such that we think that if we are just perfect modes of nature, that this is perfect Krishna consciousnness. But it is simply the mode of nature. One should simply try to surrender to Krishna. Therefore it is stated here, Mamachayo vyabacharena bhakti yogena sevate. Sagunan samati chaitan brahma bhuya kapate. That one should try to come beyond the platform of the modes of nature. Immediately you can do it if one is always engaged in Krishna's service without deviation. Immediately he transcends those modes of nature and comes to the level of Brahman. That's the only way one can overcome this continuum, this continuous cycle that is going on of continuous change of body and yet maintenance of one's particular characteristics according to the mode of nature. So, one can understand as an evidence the previous actions of a person do indicate the way in which he will act in the future. And that, therefore, the Yamadutas are arguing, he acted as a rascal in the past, this Ajamil, so he will also act as a rascal in the future, isn't it? And why do you want to protect somebody who's going to be a rascal in the future? This Ajamil was a complete rascal his whole life. Therefore, we can understand, in the future he'll also be a rascal. So why are you protecting him? He's a rascal now, he'll be a rascal later. He was a rascal before. Yeah. Now actually, in this case, their argument is not the greatest, because this is a special case. Ajamil, before he was a rascal, was actually pretty saintly, but he fell down. Now, we're not exactly sure which nature was there in the previous life, because here we have a completely radical example. Rascal and saintly in the same lifetime. But it started with saintly and became rascal. So we can understand some weakness was there from previous lifetimes. Some inclination, yet some weakness to surrender to the lower nature. This is something which all of us have to live with, this example. Yeah. Some inclination is there from previous lifetimes to be somewhat Krishna conscious, but then weakness is there. And due to weakness, fall down occurs. Habits, mind not being very strong. Take shelter of whatever energy happens to blow by. If the material energy is blowing by, then the mind just gets carried like an aroma along with the wind. Yeah. And if the spiritual energy is blowing by rather forcefully, then the mind can also go that way too. The mind is of a weak person, he'll get blown this side, that side like a leaf in the wind without any direction. He can't put himself in his own direction because it's just a weak little leaf-like mind. So the question is that when one is in such a condition, he may have an inclination to spiritual life, but because the mind is very weak, it may just knock him over sometime and he's off into some nasty activity. And then again, at the end. He laments that when the modes of nature are changing and the ignorance and passion are not so deep, he laments, oh why, oh why. And then at that point, he says, I've got to make a change here. I've got to do it right again. Then he tries again. So this goes on for some time. Continuously changing. Such a person makes a little advancement, falls away, makes a little advancement, falls away, makes a little advancement, falls away, makes a little advancement. After a long time, he gradually comes to Krishna consciousness. Fully. Yeah. Maybe he can do it in this lifetime, back forth, tough. Maybe in many lifetimes, bahunam janmanam ante, after a lot of knocks in the school of hard knocks. Yeah. After a lot of knocks in the head, finally he realizes, back forth, back forth, back forth. I've got to stay Krishna conscious under all circumstances. Mam chayo vyabhacharena. I don't want to fall back. Because as soon as one falls back, he immediately falls into a pattern which was established in previous lifetimes, which went on in this lifetime, and if he's not careful, which will go on in the next lifetime. Therefore, one must always move forward. Otherwise, if he moves back, he gets captured. Therefore, one should move forward. One should move forward always in Krishna consciousness and not go back. And don't even look backwards. Yeah. The materialists, they also make songs like that. Don't look back. Oh, God. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're meaning, don't look backwards into the past because you may find it and then you're going to be all disturbed. Because the mode of nature may come with a little hook and just, let's go. Back to the past, back to those ways of thinking, back to demoniac life, foolishness, mental speculation. Therefore, because that nature is there, material nature, contaminated nature is there, tendency is there to fall back. Therefore, one has to always move forward. If you're moving forward, then the tendency to fall back is somewhat controlled. Just like a car on a hill. If you take off the parking brake, you know what happens. But if the engine's going and you're pushing on the gas pedal in first gear and you're moving up the hill, then you don't fall back. Because there's a power or a force to keep one forward. Because the power is applied in the engine, one is moving forward. And that's very good. That keeps him from going back. But as soon as you stop moving forward, that means you don't push anymore on the gas. Then what happens immediately? Well, when you're going uphill, you may go a couple of meters. But then, for a little tiny while, you seem to be just stopped peacefully. One thinks, there's no more big engine noise, no more big endeavors. It's just as he starts moving backwards down the hill, he realizes it doesn't stay like that forever, but he thinks, it's just a temporary manifestation. As he starts picking up speed and heads down more and more, screaming to the bottom in a crash, he realizes, I guess it wasn't temporary. So therefore, one has to always keep the power on. Don't think that you can coast. Don't think that things are easy. It requires a continuous pressure. Therefore, it's very good to have pressure in Krishna consciousness. Of course, not that much that it cracks you up, but enough so that it keeps one moving forward. And that's good. Actually, the authorities in Krishna consciousness are meant to give a little bit pressure all the time to everybody. Good management means always a little bit of pressure. Not always a lot of pressure because you're always too late, because you're always doing everything in the wrong way. But just always a little bit of pressure. Always pushing. A little bit, a little bit, a little bit. That way it keeps everybody moving forward. Otherwise, as soon as one stops, then one thinks, time for a vacation. And then immediately starts rolling backwards and boom. So therefore, our main business is to move forwards, even if it's slowly. You know, we don't even mind if you're moving forward slowly. Let's say somebody's car is only going 5 kilometers an hour forward. Well, that's pretty annoying, there's no doubt about it. But at least it's better than moving 5 kilometers an hour backwards. Yeah. We appreciate the forward motion, even if it's slow. We may get frustrated sometimes, but that's still better than going backwards. Yeah. Somebody may be going forwards 30 kilometers an hour. We think, very good. It's a lot better than 5. Somebody may be going forwards at 110. So this is very good. Yeah. There's no speed limit. You can move forward as fast as you like here. There are no police going to give you a ticket. But one has to move forward at a pace which is compatible with one's actual position. Not that one moves forward at 3,000 kilometers an hour like a rocket and then drives straight into a tree. One has to stay on the path in his activity. So the balance has to be found over long periods of time. If one stays in Krishna consciousness over long periods of time, he will find the balance gradually, automatically. So the point is to understand that anything but forward motion will drop one back into that mean mode of action which was formerly there. Because it always manifests again. It's a constant thing. We fall back into our particular modes which we have been developing little by little over countless lifetimes. Just like, of course, the scene out there, out this window, may have looked a little different 20 years ago. Actually, I've seen pictures of this place 20 years ago. It doesn't look that different. Practically not at all. But let's just say 30, 40 years ago. Then there was no swimming pool out there or whatever you call that thing. And the trees were smaller. So the point is that there are some changes. They're not big changes. The hill still went like that. The thing was more or less the same. But there are changes, little changes. Things gradually evolve, develop, life after life. Maybe you go through your whole life and develop one thing. Maybe you learn one thing. Maybe you learn 5 things. But there's always some development. But the basic principle is the same. It's just that some more things are added little by little by little. So we should understand that one should be afraid of going back, because that path of learning one thing per lifetime seems to be quite primitive. One should get on the path of learning hundreds of things, thousands of things in one lifetime in Krishna's service. One learns so many things that he learns basically this material world is no place for a gentleman or a lady. And it is a place where you should get yourself out of as quickly as possible. This means it is a place where one should not move back into the tedium of his activities which come from nature. One should conquer the material nature by engaging in the spiritual nature. Of course, one may also utilize the material nature. That's what Varnashram is all about. But when you're doing it for Krishna, you're moving forward. Accepting your nature, of course, is just simply required. But moving forward in Krishna's service, this is the point. Always be serving Krishna. If one finds himself not serving Krishna and spacing out, one should understand that he's in trouble. And then, knowing he's in trouble, he should do something to change that situation. That's very, very important. So let us always engage in Krishna's service and be factually safe, progressive. Krishna consciousness progressive, always moving forward, and satisfied that at least we're moving forward. That's also satisfying. Yeah. It's like I noticed when we were flying here just last from Argentina. So we were sitting in the airplane in Buenos Aires, and the plane was supposed to leave at 5. So it was 5:20, we still hadn't left. And I was realizing I was getting very annoyed. Now I was wondering why I was getting so annoyed. It was only 20 minutes. After all, if we left now, we didn't leave now, I'm going to have to sit in that airplane anyway for 20 hours. So what's the 20 minutes in the face of 20 hours? So then I was thinking, this is terrible. We're just sitting here. We're not moving anywhere. There's no progression here. It's just stagnating, just sitting here. I couldn't stand just sitting there. And then when, at 25 after, they finally got it together to slightly start moving backwards with that machine, that big machine that picks the airplanes and moves them backwards. Oh, how good it felt. And even we were moving so slow that you could walk at a slow pace and keep up with but at least we were moving forward. Ah, finally. Yeah. So one can understand like that even if it's slow, if you're just going forward slowly and steadily. You know the tortoise and hare story? Oh, come on. You don't know the tortoise and the hare story? Everybody in the whole world knows the tortoise and the hare story. And you don't know the tortoise and hare story? In Sweden, they don't know the tortoise and the hare story? Therefore it's bogus. Okay, now I understand everything. So, one should try to go forward even if it's slow. Yeah. Instead of having to zoom, 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 and maybe never get where you're going. Maybe get diverted, maybe get deviated. One should just go in a slow, very steady path. Now, that doesn't mean you should go real slow. But it means that going slow and steady and getting there is better than going fast and not getting there and getting deviated. Of course, better than going slow and getting there is going fast and getting there. But whatever pace you can move at, you should move at steadily in Krishna's service and get to the point of Krishna consciousness. All right, Hare Krishna. Bye.